Okay, I'm actually gonna be responding to Salukie's video. I'm actually a Hasidic Zionist girl, and being that I'm Hasidish, I definitely know a lot more than he does probably about the Bet Shemesh community. I actually have ex-family there. Yes, they are pro. I can't say they're pro Palestinian, but they're definitely against the Zionistic ideology. And I will be correcting some of the stuff. Being that he's not necessarily from the ultra orthodox community, I will make some corrections as to what he has to say.
We're studying. It's called a Bet Midrash, where people go to learn Gemara.
Yeah, Torah,
Gemara, Torah.
It's like the wisdom of Judaism, like a book
Actually, Gemara is called the Talmud in English. Okay, we'll continue further.
of the wisdom of Judaism.
Yeah, like philosophical.
Yeah, and like people here, they're like talking a different language. It's called Yiddish. It's like an old language of only Jews were speaking in Europe.
Dialect of German, kind of.
Yeah, and they're like speaking this language because of like ideological reasons. Some of them they're like against the country, the Israel country, so they don't want to speak like in the
Hebrew.
national language. They don't want to speak Hebrew, so that they are keep speaking in this old language.
And it's not very common to hear Yiddish in Israel, in fact. You might hear it in New York, in Brooklyn, and like Hasidic.
Salukie, let me correct you right there. First of all, there are people that speak Yiddish and Hebrew. For example, a person like myself, because again, I'm Hasidic and I also am a Zionist, so I speak both languages. Another correction is this: not only in Bet Shemesh, you have it in Ashdod, people speak Yiddish, you have Bnei Brak, you have Jerusalem, you have Beitar, you have Kiryat Sefer. So it's not only there, and people speak it just like people speak Arabic or Spanish just to differentiate and be proud of their culture. That's exactly what it is. We want to be different than everyone else, and we want to have our own language. So that's what it is. And that's also something, just like a person is not embarrassed to speak Spanish, I'm not embarrassed to speak Yiddish. And yeah, we'll just continue.
Jewish groups, but not so much here in Israel. So Bet Shemesh, which literally translates to House of Sun, is a city here about 30 kilometers west of Jerusalem, which just keeps growing and growing very quickly. And initially, it was a place for immigrants, for Moroccans, Ethiopians, Russians, ex-USSR countries. But
That's a mistake. Again, Bet Shemesh, anyone can live in Bet Shemesh. There are people living there for over, I'd say, a good 20 years plus. And it wasn't only immigrants, and it's not only Ethiopians. We'll continue.
then it slowly started becoming more and more religious. And now about 80-90% of the people that live here are religious. And slowly, everybody who was not religious, the immigrants, the Olim, just kind of moved out. That street is called Rabbi Meir Baal HaNes, and all of the streets here are named after tzaddikim, significant people in Judaism. So the city has anti-Zionist Jews.
Hold on. You go to any other country, they're named after heroes or whatever it is. So what? It's very common to have it named after rabbis or people who, were major influencers on Judaism, and that's part of our culture. There's nothing wrong with that.
Don't believe in the state of Israel.
There's many kinds of ultra-religious people. For those who don't know the difference, they all look the same, but there are like so many, let's say, communities, like they're very, very different. The differences between the communities is like every community like believe in let's say they have their own master, their own rabbi.
They have the rabbis that they follow, and then the students of those rabbis, and those students and those rabbis have their books with different little halachot, different things, I don't know, rules to follow in Judaism, basically. יש פה כל מיני זרמים של יהדות, וזה, אתה מרגיש?
Okay, again, he's talking about Hasidic or Hasidish Jews. BTW, they don't all dress the same. They might dress in black and white. There's different hats. There's different lengths of the jackets. Some wear streimelim, some don't. So again, it's not all black and white. That's basically you're throwing all of them into one category. And again, we have some of them that are pro-Zionist and some of them that are actually anti-Zionist.
יש כזה שיש קונפליקטים בין האוכלוסיות או ש...
תראה, תמיד יש קונפליקטים בין אוכלוסיות, בעיקר יהודים. אנחנו טובים בזה. אבל...
בין יהודים ליהודים?
כן. אני אישית נמצא במקום כאילו... הקהילה היא יותר אנגלוסקסית, אמריקאית כזה, אז הכל הרבה פחות... כאילו הכל יותר זורם, יותר... כאילו רוב הקהילה עובדת, שזה משהו יחסית חריג בציבור החרדי.
In general, Haredi orthodox Jews get money from the state to study. They don't really work that much, and that's why a lot of secular Jews don't really like them. So you can get them.
1 minute, Salukie. There are actually people that get their scholarship paid in colleges to study, so they're no different. And to say a statement like that ultra-Orthodox Jews do not work, that is a complete lie. I could show you video after video how they're in high tech and everything else in between. They work for the government or stuff like that. So saying that Orthodox Jews do not work is not true. They work just as much. They work very hard. They may have larger families, so financially they're a little more strapped. But to say that they are parasites off the government's money, that's a silly thing to say, because again, there are people that are doing research and science on stupidity, and the government is funding that. So I don't see what's wrong if the government actually funds their stuff. Okay, we'll continue.
Idea of the ideologies here it says חיסון השפעת מסוכן ומזיק מאוד, which means the flu vaccine is dangerous and very harmful. It says that the vaccine has side effects and such, and they're not even talking about the COVID vaccine. Here we have a Palestinian flag.
Okay, we'll pause right there. Actually, the shupat, chisun shupat, from what I believe, is the measles shot. I actually spoke on TV about it. There are side effects to different vaccines. I'm not an anti-vaxxer. I'm actually vaccinated against COVID, which not everyone is. So definitely people have a choice what to put into their bodies. And yes, the flu vaccine is actually made out of aborted fetal tissue. If you go Google that, some people don't feel comfortable putting that into their bodies. So yeah.
And here it says המעבר בלבוש צנוע, which means pass through with modest clothing. So because everybody here is religious, or most people, so far I've only seen religious people, they're very big on modesty, on dressing modestly, which is why I came with a tank top. I just thought it would draw some more attention and make the video more interesting. You're from Bet Shemesh.
Right. So all around Bet, which is the conservative religious people, if you're going through their main street, you can go like that, but again, it's dangerous, but not necessarily something will happen. But I feel like if you go into like more deeply into this place, they can do whatever they want to you, because from what I know, the police is kind of scared to go there. They have all the power they want in those neighborhoods, so basically you can't go dressed in pants, like even not this, even regular t-shirt and pants, like long jeans, whatever you want. If it's not a long skirt and a long shirt, it's kind of dangerous. But like, I wouldn't call this a modesty police, but it is, you gotta be dressed modest to go there.
1 minute. Again, there are countries in this world that if you got dressed like that, you don't get rocks thrown at you, you get beheaded. So I'm not saying that to throw rocks at people that dress differently than the Orthodox community, that they have a right. I don't think it's okay to throw rocks. I am actually against it. I feel, Jews have to love each other, whether they're secular or Orthodox. But again, out of respect, being that that community dresses a certain way, then yes, you should try to dress more modest. Walking around, less sanua, as they call it, or less modest, they don't feel comfortable with that. And again, in Dubai, there's been enough stories. A woman had a government official start up with her. She was in jail for 1 year because she went to the police to complain. So if you want to start talking about extreme, the list is endless. And again, I don't say it's okay to throw rocks at people, but to say that, kind of like it's not okay for them to say to please dress modestly. It is okay. They could ask that, and whether you respect it, that's your decision. But you make it sound like it's the most craziest thing ever. It's not, because, like I said, you go to Iran or Iraq or any of these Muslim countries that you all have to dress. You got to dress a certain way, and like I said, there are chances that women actually get burnt at stake if they don't. So we'll continue.
So these stairs, for example, behind me are separated for men and for women. Over there behind me, the women are passing, and it says "Hamadrigot meyuadot lenashim." These stairs are for women, and over there it says "Hashvil meyuad legbarim," which means this pathway is for men. Let me tell you, we're getting some stairs here. Anyway, this area, this roundabout, had a lot of demonstrations and
Yeah, a lot of mess sometimes because they used to hang out like a big signs that says how you should dress and how you should go and what kind.
Actually, there are places in New York actually that there are separate walkways or sidewalks for men and women. Again, people do sometimes challenge it, and they'll just be like, okay, I'll walk on the men's side or the women's side, and nothing happens because, again, legally it's not okay. But out of, like they feel it's more safe or whatever it is to have men and women separate, just so there's no intermingling or whatever you want to call it happening. So it's just, that's their choice. I do it out of respect to those communities, but I don't necessarily feel, I could walk on the same sidewalk as a man. I'll move to the side, and I'll just be careful and respectful of, when they want to pass through.
Of clothes you can wear and whatnot, and it was illegal, so the police came to take it off. So there was like a big demonstrate and a lot of clash between police and the people here. So they
1 minute, what happened with freedom of speech? If someone decides to put that sign over there, it's their problem. It's their business. Again, throwing rocks at people is not okay, but there's freedom of speech, and you could do whatever you want. You could hang up whatever you want. So taking down that sign is also illegal. So, yeah.
put cameras all over the
roundabout
to keep everything in order.
This is the commercial center, actually.
That's correct. Pritut is immodest behavior. The way you translated it actually was not okay. It sounds like I actually skipped it just because I feel it's like, I would consider that PG-13 plus. So I actually skipped it in the video. But Pritut just means acting or dressing provocative. And again, out of royalty, we should try to behave the best we can. And again, if you weren't raised like that, that doesn't mean you should downplay what others do. Just like I respect you with your tank top, and I still consider you Jewish and everything. But I will not say that you're a bad person. I respect you for who you are, and you should do the same with Haredi Jews.
Of this neighborhood, they sell Crocs and different stuff. So this is what a phone shop looks like in a religious orthodox neighborhood. All of the phones are kosher phones, which means phones that don't have access to social media and pornography and all of that stuff. So this is what they look like, just good old Nokias. And they don't have here at all any iPhones, any of that stuff. And here they have the old-fashioned screen protector.
1 minute, Salukie. If you look at those cases, there's no way on earth the ones on top that kosher phone fits into. It's actually double the size. That has to be an iPhone case or Android case. People, it's just, again, there's it's very frowned upon to have internet access unless it's necessary for banking or medical stuff. People will have access to that. They'll go to a kiosk or something like that. And again, if you look into Iran, Dubai, North Korea, you name it, China, they all have certain websites that you cannot have access to, including some basic stuff like Facebook or YouTube, or the channels are, very specific channels on YouTube. So again, this is their choice. and they actually, for the safety of their children, talking about psychological and religious safety, they chose that there should be no internet access in their homes. And again, if this would be Dubai, Iran, or whatever it is, you wouldn't flinch about it. But because it's Jews, you don't like it. So again, this is their choice. I respect them for it. I actually have a smartphone, but I do have a lot of friends with no smartphones. But again, I could be friends with both, and it doesn't matter, and we're all good.
And everything. It says over here that the shop is approved, certified by a council of rabbis. It's basically like an institution that checks that these phones really don't have any access to internet or any of the naughty stuff. You might notice that all of the...
Again, that's okay. They can do whatever they want as long as they're not bothering you. Then we're good. I'll continue.
Trash cans here are burnt, and that's because in demonstrations here in Bet Shemesh, for some reason they like to burn the bins.
1 minute. Tel Aviv didn't have any burning of the trash cans. I think we should check the history of that, because I believe that happened as well in Tel Aviv. But we'll make believe it didn't, because again, I'm not so sure how pro or against Haredi Jews you are. So again, it definitely happened in Tel Aviv, but we'll make believe it only happened in Bet Shemesh.
Over here again, we have a Ma'avar Belevush Tzanua, which means again walk around here modestly, and another flag of Palestine.
You go through Amabet, there are a lot of Palestine flags, graffiti on the walls. This is honestly horrible. This is, I feel this is the worst part for me going through there, because okay, the closing, it is what it is, but the flags are actually killing me, because those people, I have no problem with supporting Palestine and everything, but they're doing that not because of research they done or anything. They're just against Israel as it is right now, and they want it to be it's supposed I don't know, whatever they believe Israel is supposed to be, because the government is not religious as they think. So I think they want the government to be Medinat Halacha, Medinat Torah.
Yeah.
So they're against the government that was created in 1948. So they're no, we prefer Palestine, which is they don't understand what they're talking about even. There's we're against this, so we'll be for that, without doing the research.
So this is called...
Okay, so I do agree with her that there probably is some misconception in the whole thing with being pro-Palestine. It's a very, very small percentage of the Orthodox community that is pro-Palestinian. Either you're pro-Zionist or you're just against it, but you don't talk about it. But being Neturei Karta, which actually means the security guards of the city, that's what it means in Aramaic, from what I believe. They're a very small percentage, and they are pro-Palestinian and anti-Zionist. But again, that's a very, very small percentage. And from the Neturei Karta, again, it's not all Neturei Karta. It's I'd say maybe 1% of Neturei is pro-Palestine. Either they're against Israel, Zionistic secular ideologies, or again, like I said, the small, minute percent is pro-Arab, pro-Palestinian. But again, they're not pro the atrocities that are happening or pro those types of stuff. No. Continue.
And because they don't have a social media and internet and stuff like this, so when they want that everybody will know something and they want to spread a message or something, so they put post on Facebook, but they put it on the wall and million times the same post, and this is how they let people know stuff. Most of them, it's propaganda or advertising. This is advertising, but this is a propaganda for something.
So I came here with Shimon because he's my mate and because he used to live here.
Again, what did you do before you had internet, Kitty? Before you were born, there was no, there was internet, but let's say this, most of the public didn't have access to it. So what else did they do if not a hang-up sign? So again, if you don't have internet, then you're going to have to use those big posters, which they actually call pashkevilim, which is a word in Yiddish, pashkevil. so yeah, so again, this is something, this is what they choose to have, and it's no different than billboards in Manhattan or on highways. It's the same exact thing. It's just in Yiddish or Hebrew or whatever it is, and that's perfectly fine. I don't think it's weird.
So how many years did you live here?
My family lives here for like 22 years, but they're living like in a other neighborhood that's close to here. It's more calm, and like people, that neighborhood used to be like secular people and like orthodox people, but not ultra-orthodox. So like all the environment was pretty much different than here. I mean, the road was looking much better than here, let's say like this.
Yeah, I think people here don't pay arnona.
Yeah.
So it's a lot dirtier here. So
Arnona, excuse me, is it's not property tax from what I believe. Oh, actually, it is property tax. I lived in Yerushalayim, near Mei Sharim, and I paid arnona like fully, and I also paid the building fees, meaning as in the maintenance, and I'm sure they do the same. And definitely they have to pay taxes in order to own a piece of property. That does not make sense. So to say that they're exempt or whatever, and personally, I don't think it's any dirtier than New York. I think it's a lot cleaner. You know, you come to New York, the floor is stuck with bubble gum. So I don't know what you're talking about. Okay, let's continue.
Shimon was in the army, he would go home without wearing his soldier's uniform, which is quite rare, but because of the anti-Zionism and everything, then they had permits to do it. But it's not that big of a deal. He just kind of made it into a big deal because it's more comfortable to walk around without a uniform.
Yeah, it's hot in Israel, so you prefer to walk with tent top instead of uniforms in the summer, so that's why I tried to get this permission.
Yeah, but the fact that they give it does say something. So this building over here behind me is unfinished, and that's because the people living in it don't believe in the state of Israel. Israel kind of subsidizes and helps out when you build a building. So they don't really believe in the state, and therefore it's unfinished, but there's people living in here. And it looks like shit. This isn't a residential building, I think. It's a girls' school.
First of all, talking like, you know, bad language and cussing is not okay. What doesn't matter what religion or what you identify as, it's just not okay. I do know people that live in Bet Shemesh, they're religious, and they actually live in government-funded apartments. To say it's unfinished because of the government thing, I don't know. I personally think it's not safe if that's true, because again, permits are there for your safety to make sure the building doesn't collapse or anything. But again, we'll continue.
So something here in the buses in Bet Shemesh is that they're divided by men and women. The women are here behind me, and the men are sat here at the front. And all the buses in Bet Shemesh are like that. תכלס אם בגבר זה פשוט יושב שם, איפה שאנשים היה.
עכשיו, היום כאילו בשנתיים האחרונות עשרה, פעם היו מהירים לך.
פעם היו מהירים.
היה פעם נגיד שהתיישבתי באוטובוס, והגעתי להתיישב ליד בן של מישהו ששם מאחורי, אומר לי, לא, אתה עם סמארטפון, אני לא רוצה שאני אתיישב לידך.
וואלה.
אמרתי לו סבבה, ואז הוא התלונן שהוא רואה מהצד את המסע. מה שאני שונא בית שמש זה...
Again, you know, I don't know what you were watching or what you were doing on the phone. You might have been doing something that, again, he didn't want his little boy to see. Again, it's that he just asked you. Personally, I would say tell the guy and the little boy to get up. And, you know, if it bothers you that someone has a smartphone, just get up and move over. I think it's not so okay what he did. But again, I've seen both sides of the coin, so I can't say what's correct and what's not. But I think the proper thing would have been to just get up and just go to a different seat. Okay, I meant to say that the proper thing probably would have been that the ultra-orthodox guy and the boy would have gotten up if it bothered him. That's my personal opinion. But maybe if you spoke to them, they would think differently.
קצת קשה כי זה נותן שמרה לכל העיר.
צריך עזרה? צריך עזרה?
לכל הזה כמו שמרימים כוס מים. כן, לא בזמן. אתה גם? בבית. אני בדרך חייבי, אבל לא מפה, ממורוקו. הייתי בדרך פעם. הייתי גם קוסם.
קוסם?
כן, קוסם הייתי. לפני 74 שנה.
וואלה.
היו טובים. היו טובים כמו לחם, אין משהו אחר.
כמה שנים אתה גר בבית שמש?
יופי, אני גר בבית שמש כבר 64 שנה.
64 שנה. איך בית שמש השתנתה ב-64 שנה? גדלה, זה, לא?
בית שמש, אתה יודע כמה היה בית שמש פעם? היה 7,400, היום בבית שמש...
140,000.
מה?
140,000.
240.
240.
כל בית שמש, כל זה, גם למעלה, אתה תתחיל כל אלה. כל
כן.
בית שמש, כן, כל זה בית שמש.
כן.
אני לא מרשה, 240 בשקל היום. 30-40, כן. זה בית שמש. כן, חייבי, כן, כן, כן. באתי ממרוקו, מתאג'יר.
אחלה חשיש.
שם זה מקום של אוכל ומים, ועבודה. וכלום זה כלום. שם זה הרבה עבודה.
רגע, באיזה גיל עלית?
בגיל 17, אין דבר, תודה לאל. תודה ששלום ודבריי, תראה. רגלים שלי כמו בזה, וגם זה היה.
תודה לאל. אלחמדוללה.
בגיל שלי היום, אני היום ב-81, תודה לאל.
זה האוטובוס?
יבוא לך, חפש. יבוא עשר, גם את העשר גם פה.
יאללה, שיהיה לך אחלה יום.
השם ישמור אותך, תודה.
תודה רבה. תודה רבה, גם לכם, תודה רבה. ביי ביי, גם לכם, תודה רבה.
יש רב שקבור פה,
כן.
אבל צריך להגיע לקבר שם.
פה? בבית שמש?
כן, בגלל שזה ט"ו באב, הוא אחראי לזיווגים ולשלום בית.
וואלה.
קוראים לו הרב יצחק, גברן בן יצחק.
וואלה, לא שמעתי.
אז תפתח בגוגל, תראה ניסים ונפלאות. והדודה שלי, אני הגעתי לפה עם רכב בפעם הקודמת, והדודה שלי אמרה לי שאני צריכה להגיע לפה, להירשם לאיזשהו מקום. ניסיתי לשאול, ירדתי לסופרבוס, עשיתי סיבובים. בסוף היא אמרה לי במידע, אחרי שהמחשבים חזרו לה, שצריך ללכת לפה לקו 31.
טוב, יאללה.
מה, ומה את הולכת לבקש שיברך אותך?
בשלום בית, יש לי בעיות עם בעלי.
בעזרת השם.
אבל גם לבקש זיווגים לאחיינים שלי, לאנשים אחרים, יאללה, בשורות
טוב, ביי, תודה.
What's it like being a secular Jew in Bet Shemesh?
Okay, I do have to point out that kudos to them that they helped out the little cute old man. Again, we see it in all communities that helping out, people help out each other, and they haven't shown that on the Haredi side because, again, actually that guy was actually Orthodox, so we're good. But the Orthodox community, they help each other immensely. They for the poor people or the people who make less money, quote, because like you said, they don't work. They actually do work, but they might have 10 kids. So supporting a family of 10 is a little more challenging. And they have organizations that give them free food, free clothing, or clothing that's less expensive, for cheaper prices. And they're very, very giving. And Bikur Cholim, which is, like they visit the sick and all that. They're very good at that. They bring them food and everything. So, yeah, there's definitely a lot of good parts of Bet Shemesh, which I haven't seen yet.
I'm a religious family, so it's a bit difficult. Plus, we're not really conservative. So in Bet Shemesh, it is a bit difficult because you have the conservative place and where they live, the neighborhoods. And there it's actually dangerous to go, for example, dressed like that because they can throw stones at you, they can spit on your face, like whatever they want. So also, like where I live is fine because it's like the place where it is religious people, but not very conservative. So there it's chill, it's fine. But I feel like Bet Shemesh is very going in the direction of very conservative people. So it's sad. Like for me,
I'd say the word is the proper word she means to say is ultra orthodox. I guess also conservative could also be used. Again, I always say, out of respect, I obviously feel that if you're going to a ultra-Orthodox wedding, people will be dressed with skirts and long sleeves and whatever, cover the hair, obviously married women. So again, it's interesting when you, let's say, go to a mosque, you take off your shoes out of respect to the mosque. Again, women cover their hair in the mosque. It's very interesting. With that, you're perfectly okay. You don't say, oh, listen, this is stupid and ludicrous. Let me wear shoes in a mosque. But somehow when it comes to your own brethren in Bet Shemesh, you're just, I don't know. Again, spitting at people, throwing rocks is not okay. But to start saying that it's not okay to have a dress code and just request, please dress nicely, or modestly, you keep downplaying it, and you even bring people to talk about it. Again, it's respect for the area. What people choose to do, that's their problem.
I don't see my future there.
Right.
I'm not going to stay here, for example.
And there's not many job opportunities either in Bet Shemesh.
Yes, exactly. Like I worked here actually in this mall till last month, and they pay basically the minimum wage for like every job you'll find, and it was really difficult for me to find a job, even though I was 18 already when I was searching. I was free basically all the time, and still I found like only one job place like from all the places I searched.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, yeah. What's the best and worst part about living here?
The best part is a quiet city. It's kind of in the center of Israel, so you
Close
can
to
go,
Tel Aviv, Jerusalem.
Exactly, you have all the places you want to go. And the worst part again is that you don't really have the freedom to walk as you want, to be as you want in all the neighborhoods. So that's what I feel. It's a fine city, but it's also really turning into a really strict and kitzoni.
Radical.
Yes, so that's not fun.
Yeah, yeah. So we.
Okay, so again, you know, you want to walk into Jenin the way you're dressed, you probably would got shot in your head, to be honest. And that's not too far from Bet Shemesh. You know, I'm saying it's, you know, I don't know how many hour or minute drive from there, but you walk into Jenin like that, you'd be beheaded or killed or whatever. So to say that this is an extreme city, I agree and disagree, because again, you have to be respectful of other people's beliefs or whatever it is. I'm not forcing you to get dressed a certain way. Again, if let's say you would to work in an ultra orthodox store and you would dress like that, they probably would have demonstrations outside the store that you're working at that people should not buy there. So I could see that people wouldn't hire you the way you're dressed. You probably are a qualified worker, but again, because they're serving to a certain type of people and they dress a certain way, so I would imagine they wouldn't hire someone who dresses more to the less modest way.
Leaving Bet Shemesh right now. I suppose that's about it. Thank you for watching. I hope you learned something. If you want to support what I do, go to patreon.com/Salukie, where you can make little donations to help keep the channel going. And yeah, thanks for watching. I love you.
Love you, bye!
Okay, I actually happen to be a fan of Salukie because he does very daring and scary things. Sometimes I'm like, God, just protect him wherever he is. Again, I do feel, Salukie, you know, being that you're Jewish yourself, I don't know whether you were raised ultra-Orthodox or not. I'm not very sure about that. I do believe you were bar mitzvahed. That's the feel I get, and you probably are coming from at least a traditional family. I feel that being that it's this is your culture, your religion, you should try to look for the good in people. You know, again, when it comes to a Muslim country, which is I don't like to say these words, but Hamo people, and they kill them by the dozens. They hang them in the middle of the city if they identify that they do not want to be straight. You know, it's very funny that you'll be pro them and you'll wave them on and you'll be like, it's okay and whatever it is. It's just interesting that you'll do that. But when it comes to your own flesh and blood, you're just like downplaying them. I don't think it's okay, but I do wish you the best of luck, and you should continue making videos, and most of all, stay safe.